the sense in which the word individuality is used here refers to that which is beyond conceptualization, refers to that which is beyond the grasp of the intellect. Refers to one's very essence. One's very essence, which one cannot know via the mind. All the knowledge that we have is indirect, always indirect, in the sense that it comes to us through the mind, right? It comes to the mind through the mind. So whatever knowledge that the mind has is always indirect in that sense.
It comes to mind through mind.
It comes to mind through the mind, and because we are identified with the mind, so we say that it is our knowledge. It's actually just a happening in the mind.
But who is identified with mind? We
The mind
only.
itself. The mind itself is identified. Mind itself is identified.
It's like, but obviously the mind will be identified by itself only. What does mind know beyond it?
All identification will be with itself only. Obviously, you're right. Mind can know nothing of the beyond. Mind can know nothing of the beyond.
Then that knowing that we talk, knowing is our nature. Then whose?
That is not at all indirect. That is not at all indirect. See, understand this. Knowledge is when there is somebody to receive the knowledge, and that somebody is obviously the mind. This knowing is when the one who was always standing and alert to receive the knowledge and also create knowledge, not as if somebody else is creating it. No, who was always standing and alert to receive and create knowledge? Who was it? The mind itself. Knowing is when the one who was always alert to receive the knowledge is no more alert, it has become relaxed. Then there is knowing. Then there is knowing. So your question that who is it that is knowing? Nobody. Because usually the one whom we call as the knower is just the mind. It's just the mind, right? That is what our entire knowledge comprises of. Personality is all that which is acquired via the mind. So you can very well know it. There are symptoms, there are traits, and there will be differences in personalities among people. Because mind is diversity, and hence people will have diverse experiences. One set of experiences will be different than the other set of experiences. So personalities are going to be different. Mind is diversity. Mind is differentiation and localization. Then there is something called individuality. That individuality, in the sense that we are talking of it, is not at all personal. So please never use the word my individuality. Personality is obviously personal. Personalities are obviously going to be diverse. There is nothing called individualities. There is only individuality. And that individuality is neither same nor different, because both sameness and difference are mental concepts. So you ask me, is my individuality the same as your individuality? No. Is it different? No. Then what is it? Silence. Are you getting it?
Yes.
Getting it? No, obviously, if that thing is still alert, you cannot get it. If you are trying to receive this as knowledge, then you will not understand. What I am saying cannot be received as knowledge. This is not some information being supplied. Personality is all that this localized mind has experienced since what it calls as its birth. Individuality is not at all that. What is individuality? There can be no indirect experience of individuality. And we know only indirect experiences. Via the mind. Then, sir, how do we know whether there is anything called the individuality? Whether there is anything called individuality, how do we know? You will know, and you do know, when you act in ways which are calm, composed, and where there is minimum intervention of thought. When there is an inherent sense of security, when you are in the flow and there is spontaneous action, that is your individuality. Now, things are happening without the interference of the mind, without the aid of mental activity. So what is then the position of mind and body in individuality? What is the position of the mind and body in individuality? Is the mind just to keep sleeping in an individual? In the expression of individuality, does the mind have no place? No. The word expression itself is very revealing. Mind is the tool through which individuality will be expressed. How else can expression take place? Expression will always be in time and space, in the world, through actions, through words. Mind and the body are agents of expression. Of what?
Individual.
So mind can be the dancer that dances to the tune of individuality. Not to its own tune, remember. Not to its own tune. When the mind dances to its own tune, then it is
Personality.
when the mind dances to the tune of the beyond, this is individuality.
Then can we say that what we are assuming as mind dancing at its own tune, is mind capable of dancing in its own tune?
It always does
Can't
that.
it also be a kind of expression?
No. There is this machine here. It always dances to its own tune. Once the machine is made, it is self-sufficient. Look at this. Once the machine is made and designed, it is self-sufficient.
But that source, that individuality, is the source which
Made
gives
it.
energy.
Which made it.
Yeah.
Which made it.
Which
After
made
that, it is self-sufficient.
After that.
It is self-sufficient. Then it need not be in touch with any kind of source. It is self-sufficient. Are you getting it? So mind is useful, but only as the messenger of the news that is coming from there. not as somebody who delivers his own set of news. Mind is useful, but only as the messenger who delivers news from there, not as somebody who creates his own set of news. The postman comes and delivers something. Is the postman bringing the news from somewhere, or is the postman building up news? So that is the purpose of mind, and that is the purpose of life. And that is also a truthful personality. A personality that springs from individuality. A personality that springs from individuality is a truthful personality. But that personality cannot be rigid. Now there are ways to demonstrate it to the students. You say that right now you are saying something to me. There are two sources from where your words can come. There are two sources from where your words can come. 90%, 95% of times your words come from something that you have heard of, read of, experienced. But sometimes it happens that you say something which surprises even you. After having said that, after having done that, you ask yourself, where did that come from? I don't think I have read that anywhere. In fact, whatever I have read runs counter to what I have just said. Where did that come from? And you ask the students, have you experienced this? A few of them will raise their hands. So it is possible that they are mistaken for a subconscious experience as individuality, but still you will find a few of them raising their hands. You say, this is it. Even as you are replying to me right now, there are these topics that we raise in the classroom. Your replies can come either from something which is already in the database, in the knowledge source, but your replies can also come from some other place. Some of them will find it difficult to believe, because our education system has been such that what you have been asked in exam is always what you have been taught in syllabus. The message being given to the students is, you can answer only if you have already been handed it down. The message that is being given to students is that you can know only if you have had a previous experience. In our education system, there is no place for meditative knowing, that you already know, that nobody needs to tell it to you, that you do have an alternate, a more fundamental, a more all-encompassing source of knowing. Getting it? So many of them will find it difficult to believe. We need to guard against one happening, which is that they should not believe that their solidified personality is individuality. I have found many of us, maybe inadvertently, but delivering this message that individuality is what you really are. An individual does what he really wants to do. No, that's not so. That is just your solidified personality, hardcore personality. Individuality is that which expresses itself in meditation. Individuality is that which expresses itself in a calm mind. They have already done beyond the gloss. So individuality is the core, of which personality is the individuality is the core, of which personality is the gloss.
So we can connect to one more thing. There is something in core in AKGC that is center of excellence and relevance. Relevance and excellency, that is core. We can connect this. But the individuality.
See, we said that we have to be careful in delivering that we arrive from another world. Do not be too interested in connecting the other world to examples from their world. You can connect gloss, and that is all right. So what is gloss? This is gloss, that is gloss. But if you start connecting the core, then you are connecting that which cannot be conceptualized to this which is already a concept. And this is a fundamental mistake. This is the same mistake that people make when they say that God is like a caring father. You have taken up that world and unnecessarily connected it to an image from this world.
So because they understand the language of this world.
So they will bring down that world to this world. And that is exactly what should not happen. It's very, very poisonous if you do this. Just like people who say that the Atman is in my body. You have taken up something from there and made it of this world. That the Sukshma Sharir remains in the world after death. You have taken up something from there and brought it to this world, which is poisonous.
So, we know ourselves in all of those identities. And when we say that, we are individuals, we are basically saying that when our intelligence is in operation. So is that intelligence that we are talking about, isn't that, how do we differentiate that? Because that is also somehow influenced from the thoughts that we have. So how we can differentiate that?
Ma'am, intelligence is not influenced by thoughts. Intelligence is that which comes into operation when thoughts calm down. When thoughts calm down, intelligence comes into its own.
Right.
Intelligence is not something that thoughts shape. You remember the 1, 2, 3, 4 framework? Where does intelligence lie? How many of us have been through that framework? Where does intelligence lie?
1.
2.
Awareness.
That is another thing. Do not be in a hurry to put anything at 1. That is mind's attempt again to lay its hands on the ultimate. It would be very easy for the knowers to just put 1 and 2 together, and there is no real reason why they must be separated. Why there must be a 1 as distinct from 2 is just so that you don't start conceptualizing 1. Intelligence is understanding. Intelligence is understanding.
Can you put it this way, that individuality would be awareness through consciousness?
Not through consciousness. Do you ever say mother through baby? Then what do you mean by awareness through consciousness?
Awareness which makes mind instrumental.
Yes. Yes. So not through.
So both are same thing, consciousness and awareness.
Sir, we have discussed this 3 or 4 times in the previous month.
1, 2, 3, 4 framework क्या
मेल में था.
First we discussed it in Shivpuri, then I sent it on mail. Then we discussed it in the session also. You miss everything, then what can be done? That's why I'm pretty particular that those who opt out of the clarity sessions, if there is a number 4, it has to be 4. Those who opt out of this, they opt out of Advait. So is it first of all clear that individualities are not different? Your individuality is not different from my individuality. It is also not the same. So this question that are all individuals the same? Will the world not become a boring place if everybody expresses individuality? No, this question is not valid. If you have to give an answer, the answer is the expression would anyway always take place through the mind. So in expression there would always be diversity, don't be worried. You need not be too worried that the world will become a boring place. Because anyway the expression is always going to be through the mind and through the body, and both the mind and the body are different for different persons. So don't worry. World will never become boring. Let everybody express his individuality, the world would not become boring.
So it is means like sunlight.
Hmm?
Same sunlight, same
Hmm.
source, but rainbow spectrum.
Even in non-living things, yeah, animals and plants, the same expression and awareness works. But the expression in them would not be via mind now. But there is so much diversity in them.
Listen, man. Animals and plants exist in your world through your mind. Are you getting it?
And so does humans and
Yes. Right? Animals and plants are just objects that you are constructing and you are giving a shape through the processes here. It is not as if there are separate beings going on here and there and what's going on. That's why one must first look at himself rather than be worried about what is this or what is that. Just 2, 3, 4 days back we said everything appears shaking in a shaking mirror. Everything appears according to the mirror. First let's take care of this. How do I know anything about animals, plants, stones? How will you know about them? Through what instrument?
So let's first know about mind.
Because that is the only medium of knowing anything. So first know about that. Maybe after that you will not require to know about this and that.
So we can also connect the concept of individuality with the electricity. Like with the same electricity, somebody takes light, somebody takes sound.
Don't do this because given their background, which is science and technology, they will raise 1,000 questions. Sir, electricity can be the same, but voltage can be different. Alright, the frequency can be different. So yes, it is the same electricity, this and that. Do not try. See, I'm again saying this. You want to relate personality to something, relate. But do not try to relate words from there to images from here. That will be very, very confusing and harmful. You want to give examples of personality, most welcome. But do not try to give examples of individuality. Do not conceptualize it. Every example will conceptualize it. Do not do that.
So why there is so much negation of this word?
Of?
Negation of this word. That there is some other word. And this
There is no negation of this word. We are taking this word for what it is. Who is negating it? There is personality. Who is negating? Are we saying there is no personality? What do you mean by negating?
So why are we saying we must emphasize on some other word that things are coming from?
Because there are things that come from there. Why are you asking why? Was that not the first thing that we
Is there any
said?
other word other than this word?
That you can know only if you become calm. What was the first thing we said? That when you speak, your words come from two sources. When you decide, your actions come from two sources. Your decisions come from two sources. Either you can decide from your mind which is afraid, or you can decide from somewhere else. First of all, in your life, make decisions from that somewhere else also. Have that guts, have that courage, and then you will know. Otherwise, whatever I'll say will only be knowledge that I am supplying. That will never really convince you. That is why you are asking. This question is actually a very honest question.
Yes,
That is there actually anything called called core? Is there anything actually called understanding? I think there is only thought. You're right. The only proof is your own meditation. The only proof is your own life. Only that can really convince you that yes, I know. My life is moving in an unplanned way and I'm still so happy. So I know that life need not come out of thought. There is no other way. You want me to convince you? I cannot convince you. You have to live that way to be convinced. Are you getting what I am saying? I can convince you on concepts. There I can convince you. You want to be convinced about gloss? I can surely convince you. Gloss is diverse. Gloss comes from outside. There are 1,000 things and I can give you proofs. But if you want a proof of core, I cannot give you any proof because that proof has to be your own life. Only that can convince you. You want me to prove to you about the qualities of this world? I can easily prove. Anybody can prove. This world is three-dimensional. The fundamentals of this world are this and this. And it can be easily shown and proven. But if you want to be convinced about that world, I cannot do that. You have to live that way.
So can we say this word and that word is equal to inner world and outer world?
No, you cannot say that. Because inner and outer are both this world. There is no inner and no outer.